Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first discussion of the Unholy Consult. This is the final book in the Aspect Emperor series and the second Apocalypse series. And I no longer have to remember numbers. I will just say final book every time. We are reading these books approximately 100 pages every week. Today's discussion will bring us to the end of chapter 6. For next week, we will be talking of chapter 7 through 12. With me, of course, I have the usual group of friends. Dan, would you like to start us off with introductions?
Yeah, I'm Dan. I'm a multiple time reader of the series. And yeah, we're getting to the end. We're getting to the climax, and hopefully it will be worth it.
Yes.
And I'm Carl. I'm sorry if my audio quality is worse this episode. I am traveling, and I'm a first-time reader. And so far, it has absolutely been worth it. I was horrified by this, which I, you know, that's the second apocalypse for you.
Yes, indeed. I'm Steve. It's my second time reading this one, the series that is, and I forgot how dark the. I remember it being really intense, but I actually got a little sick to my stomach reading some of these sections.
Yeah, it's messed up. It,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I definitely was like, this was among the most disturbed I've been reading this series. It's just like overwhelmingly horrible. Oh God, I hate that Steve's laughing because it's only gonna get worse. That's what that laugh means. Oh God.
Oh, it's gonna be so much fun.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think both this part, like we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
The eating of a scalded.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That part is one of the most brutal that I've ever read. The only reason it's not like one of my top is because it's not real. I know it's not real, so it doesn't really hold a candle to the stuff that I read, but it is real and happened.
That's
But
true.
this,
Yeah.
if this did happen, this would be the worst one, I guess. But
Yeah, that's the one thing that does hold it back, right? From like, yeah, you read about some like real historic atrocities or like serial killer shit, and like, you know, this is as messed up as any of them, but it's at least fictional. That said, I mean, Bakker was unrelenting with how he wrote it too. Like he really just leaned into it and took his time. Like it wasn't
yeah,
like, you know, you were in and out. Like it was drawn out, and I think appropriately so, because you're meant to feel that horror. And if I'm not mistaken, did they also like rape the Scalded too? Like they ate
yeah,
rape them, right? Like they went full Sronk, was my understanding,
yeah. I
which
mean, they
was
were raping the, I don't know, the heads and the
right.
pieces, and like it was, they were doing everything.
It really, and part of what adds the horror is like it would already be horrific enough for this sort of mass atrocity if we were literally watching it from the Strong or reading it from the Strong's POV. But like these are like human beings, and on top of that, it's Proyas, right? We followed all
Yeah,
this time. Maybe you like him, maybe you hate him, but like you don't want him to do this. It's like that added level of horror. And Cayutas, right? To see this guy who's half Dunyang just completely lose his mind. And I'm not mistaken, right, that Proyas kills uh, Salban, right? That was Salban he saw.
no,
Salban,
that was
but
what's his name? It's another guy that was the leader of the Scalded.
okay, okay, cool,
Someone is dead. Is dead.
okay.
Yeah.
Or
Because it didn't they didn't name him, and for a moment I thought it was just like somehow Salban had survived, and it was called like the Chief Prince or something.
yeah, I think it's named in the last book. He's named in the last book,
Okay.
but I
Well,
don't
that,
know.
that makes
So,
it slightly less terrible, but still terrible.
I mean, I'm sure he knew it. He also knew that guy because he was also one of the nobles
Right.
in high ranking. So, I don't think he was. And the way they talk, right? Like he's like, he looks at him, it's like a knowing look, right? It's described that way. It's like, yeah,
Right.
do what you have to do, right?
That's what made me think it was Sodom. That yeah, that makes it right. I mean, you would know other people. I've talked a lot, Varsha. What are your thoughts on how fucking horrible this is?
Oh, it was terrible. I think I read some of it just before or immediately after dinner, especially that Proes scene in which. No. But I did have a question about all of this. We talked about, I think, Carl, you mentioned how you thought this was a bit of a theme driven series. That could be one way of looking at it. What do you think Baker is exploring with all of this? Both with the eating of the shrank and now to this level of depravity that we've seen this army reduced to. One possible answer I came up with, like I've been racking my brain and trying to justify this, like justify the need for this in the story. Sure, it probably makes sense. I think we can find explanations for all of it. It makes logical sense that they need to eat something, sure, but what is the purpose of this, like as a theme? What is he exploring? One possible answer is look at what, you know, I don't know, religion or blind following, whatever it is, can bring you down to whatever the depths that you can go down to, or look how terrible people can be. It feels a bit like the themes of Blood Meridian on steroids. I still feel like it's, I don't know, I'm finding it difficult to not criticize it as just being there for shock value. And I need more.
I don't think it is. I think there have been times in this book series where I felt that things were there for shock value. Like I remember it is burned into my brain. We got a single scene of this orphan who like goes and like one of his friends ends up like molested or something,
Yeah.
killed, and then the other one is like clearly about to die. And I was like, why do we need this scene? These characters, like all we got from that was that Maithanet was leaving for the Holy Land. It was like there are 1,000 ways we could have found that out. There was that this is shock value. Like this is too much. This here though to me felt appropriate because to me it gets at a lot of the core of the argument around Kellis in particular, but I think the great ordeal in general, which is, you know, what does your victory even mean if you become the thing you hate? Like these guys literally become strong, right?
Mm.
And admittedly, as you said, there's like a fantasy logic behind it, right? Where it's like they're changed by consuming strong. But it to me it it is that question, and it is a powerful one where, you know, there certainly have been times where I have wanted to excuse Callus's atrocities if it gets the job done. You know, I mean, I think I pretty typically, you know, rant against him appropriately, but this was like, I mean, it's just they're just as bad as what they're facing, and their excuse is, well, what we're facing is pure evil, so any evil we do is excused. And I think the point Baker is making is no, that's actually like if you become the thing you're trying to fight, there isn't moral relativity here. Like you are evil, and it is embodied very explicitly, I think, by Sorwield, who literally thinks that, who walks in and he is like, okay, maybe Kellis is a good guy, and then he sees this and he goes, actually, no, this is evil. Kellis is evil. He has to die. I see it, yeah, or I see it, mother, right? Like, and so for me, it didn't feel too much because of that. It certainly was hard to read and was emotionally like it was unpleasant. But I do feel like it is very thematically in line with the rest of the series, and in some ways, I think is just nailing his point home here in the most uncomfortable way possible. I mean, what you said about like it's like Blood Meridian on steroids is spot on. You really did just like take it's like, okay, so this thing that Cormac McCarthy did, what if I did it on a magnitude bigger scale? You know, hold my beer. It is horrible. Um, and it's now just at the point where like the Great Ordeal is never good, but I'm fully at the point where I'm like, I don't care if these people die. Like Proyas, I have defended, but like he's changed now, like fundamentally, that he is like irredeemably bad, and they're all going to hell, literally. So you know, it's sad. It is tragic, but it is just like they've literally become monsters.
Yeah. I think though, like I guess the themes that bring explored with violence here are like they feel different than the Blood Meridian ones. Because to me, Blood Meridian felt like okay, like the judge trying to expose, like to justify his theory that like how do I say, like strength. People who are stronger and weaker people can do whatever they want because strength is justification, I guess,
Right.
and everything is war. Here, it's more like it feels like what ends justify what means.
Right. I agree. It is thematically different. I do agree with that. It's sort of more like the events themselves almost, or like,
Yeah.
because it does like feel like what happened.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But you're totally right that I think the core questions that are being asked are different.
And I
With,
think in
with
the text, it's like, yeah, it's literally they call themselves or something like they're described as the unholy that are blessed because of what, the final objective, I guess. That's how I guess they think of themselves.
yeah,
Like any sort of, I mean, is it Sorwell that thinks also at the end of a chapter, like, oh, he looks at Golgotha and he's like, oh, he almost changes his mind. It's like, oh, that also looks terrible. Like that's pure evil. Maybe this is justified or something, sort of.
he has a
But yeah,
moment, right, where he doubts, where he
yeah,
wonders, and he cries. He's like, no, this is no. I It's so interesting the way this is structured, because I feel like the opening chapter, we're not in Kellis's point of view, but it inches towards the idea of humanizing him,
mhm,
unless he's just completely lying to Esmond, right? And I do think that's open to interpretation, and maybe we'll get an answer one way or another. But he says he loves her, right? And he says like, "You're my darkness," right? And I believe that that is true on some level. I don't believe he feels love kind of in the way that most people would classify it, but I do think that there's something of that inside him. And so it doesn't like redeem him in any sense, but it does kind of make him seem more human or more like relatable. And then you have this happen and you're like, he did this. Like he knew this was coming. And so he's just it's the final, line to cross, that it's just like, you willingly made this happen and you are a monster for it. You may not have eaten the strong and become this madman like your army, but you willfully led them into this position where this happened. And that is just an unforgivable atrocity in my mind.
I mean, isn't that what Proyas thinks? It's like, oh, that's why he's been breaking me down, so I have the strength to do this. Right? And he
Yeah.
did say something must be eaten. I guess, I mean, something did have to be eaten, I guess, but
Well, but he literally chose. I mean, I don't even know that's the question, right? Is like, was there an option other than strong? What is the option? How do they even compete with the consult here? And those are open-ended questions, but I just don't think, like, he had to know this would happen, that
yeah,
eating this would transform them, right? And for that, it's just, to my mind, an
yeah,
unforgivable sin. Like, putting strong. I mean, I guess the chess master move here is he's like, we need strong to defeat the strong, like it, and I just don't think that that's like, he's just crossed the line. I just don't think that is remotely morally,
yeah.
arguable. Which he doesn't care about morals, right? That's his point. Is like, or I guess he does in his own disturbed way, where he does believe whatever it takes to beat the consult,
Yeah.
assuming that it's, actually what he believes. Anyway, I've
Like
been
he
talking.
said, it's the shortest path. Because I'm sure he could have planned it and like all built structures along the way for like 10 years to build a way out to forage and get,
Right.
all the things. But he's like, no, this is the easiest way and this is the quickest way. So I'll just do it.
Exactly.
Right?
Right. What are
Yeah,
your
I think
thoughts, Steve, on, well, I mean, God, second time through, it's ugly.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Varsha. You go ahead and go first.
I was just gonna say, I think, thank you, both of you. I think that makes a lot more sense now. I didn't think of it in terms of um, the do the ends justify the means? Maybe because I have had difficulty taking the end seriously. I still don't know what Kellis is up to, what he aims to do there. And honestly, I think the individuals of the great audience haven't really felt real to me. I'm still thinking about it in terms of Kellis and Prois and like what they want to do. So, but for the other people, I think whatever it is they want, like they are trying, I don't know how privy they are to what they think they are doing. Are they just blindly following Kellis, or
Yeah.
do they know that they are either finding salvation or preventing damnation by going and destroying Golgotha? Whichever it is, they feel like they are holy people and they want to, yeah, they are justifying their depravity, which I think regardless of what the actual motive is, what they believe, I think is important.
I think it's
And
both. What you were saying is I don't think it's an either or. I think it's both. I think they are blindly following Kellis, at least partially because Kellis promises them salvation and they think this is salvation. I think they literally say that. Like they're like, this is salvation, you know, this is how we find our salvation. It's the classic Crusades argument. I mean, this is another holy war. This is just the next holy war. Um, and you know, the whole argument of a holy war is you go commit these atrocities in the name of insert religion here. Obviously, you know, historically we think of like Christianity and Islam. It's like you go commit atrocities in this religion's name and you are forgiven all your sins and you go to heaven, right? And that's what they think they're doing. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, but I was just agreeing with you basically.
no, that makes sense. Yeah, I think if regardless, whatever it is, they have this sense of self-righteousness, which they are very much not living up to with what they are sinking to. So, yeah, I think that helps explain it. I have been struggling with like what are we trying to achieve with this here? Like what are we exploring here and trying to make sense of it? So,
Well, what people believe is that they're trying to achieve to prevent the end of the world, right? That's what Kellis is saying. Like, we don't know if it's true, but what Kellis is saying, whatever is saying, what all these reasonings are based on, is like we're trying to prevent the end of the world, right?
right. And it's not like it does it doesn't have the sense of a sacrifice, like I will do this to help. It's more, I am not wrong to do this because I am following a holy cause, if that makes sense. Like the few insights we did get into the depravity, not Proes but the others. But sorry, Steve, I haven't let you talk yet.
Oh no, it's okay. I like hearing everyone's thoughts. There's a lot to take in these couple the field appalling. Well, on the reread, it's much. I guess I don't know if I really absorbed it the first time, like how bleak it was. It's probably one of the darkest things. I think it was even bleaker than McCarthy, like Blood Meridian. I think like you said, Carly, he really leans into it and really focuses on it and really spends time there. It's not just a scene that you see unravel and then you move on to the next thing. It's you really dig into it, and the dead bodies and the severed heads and the torsos and the shrunk that they were eating. Almost, it sounded like they were eating them alive. Some of them, that they were laying on their backs and they were eating them alive. The things that stuck out to me more the second time, and I was the prayers that were close to other prayers you may have heard before, and also there was one about honor. What was it if not the sacrifice that best served the gluttony of your masters?
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's your Proas is, and whoever is a believer is like a slave to, is just a tool that's being used, and just that's their I guess salvation, or that's, he's accepting his fate almost like it's. And I like that he was referred to as a steersman. He's the one he justifies all the things that have happened to him, all the things that Kellis has done to him to prepare him for this, and so he could make it through. Another thing that really stuck that I didn't think of the first time, I don't think I did, was the horns of Golgotha in the air, and I thought of the eye from Lord of the Rings.
Mm.
Good point.
I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not, but and there was also a gate. It wasn't called the Black Gate, but he referred to a gate that's black. So some more references there too.
Is the field appalling? I kept flipping. Is it white? I feel like it's pale, but like I at first I was going, oh, it's Mordor, but then I thought that there was some description of it as like pale.
Maybe.
But I don't know if okay, I don't yeah. Anyway, I was just curious. That's not that important. But going off of what you were saying in the quote you quoted, Steve, um, hunger has become such a big theme, and you know, not only kind of what we traditionally think of as hunger, you know, but like sexual appetite too, right? And it's interesting that, you know, these religions that in some ways are supposed to be kind of help people control their capital H hunger or their hungers end up enabling them to act out their hungers on unimaginable scales. And you saw this in the original trilogy too with the Holy War. And it's now just like even I mean I don't even know if it's worse because I guess there are fewer innocents here. But
I guess it can be justified that they're under effect of a meat that
right.
has
It's
some redeeming qualities, I guess, in the sense that, you know.
I don't know the redeeming qualities is the right phrase, but
Well, it's like, you know, is it worse if you kill someone in cold blood or in the throes of passion? You know what I mean? It's like, at
right,
least you have some excuse in one sense.
right, right. It's yeah, it's interesting how that's become such a through line. These like, well, because hunger, right, is like our base instinct, right? It's like it's natural, and so it's clearly showing a pretty bleak view of nature. You know, I think even beyond humanity, but certainly human nature. Obviously, by eating strong, they are transformed, but there are still, you know, implications and explorations of kind of these base-born animal hungers that are just lead to just horrible atrocities and not improved upon but even made worse by these by zealotry is really what it comes down to.
Yeah. And it's funny how, like, the more meat they eat and the more time passes, the more, like, in the text, there's, like, philosophical sort of discussions on, like, oh, you know, everything is meat, everything is primal hunger and base instincts. And the more they try to justify itself, and the text itself tries to justify itself, that everything is not, no philosophical, no metaphysical things. It's all about the physical, the meat, right?
Exactly, it's interesting and horrible. uh, I something else that occurred to me as we have been talking is going back to the idea of like, you know, notions of moral relativity and like what is okay, you know, what evils are okay to commit in the pursuit of combating evil. Is the consult are literally doing the same thing as these soldiers.
Yeah.
They're essentially trying to save their souls, which the soldiers are effectively all like you maybe at the start of this journey you could say some of the soldiers were going to save their loved ones, you know, to sacrifice themselves. Maybe there was something noble there, but it is no longer that. And if it ever was that. And so they really just have become, I mean, it's basically two equivalent forces facing off at this point with the same motives, the same, you know, they vary in detail, but not in the core of what they're about. And it's just tragic and horrifying.
Yeah. Feel bad for Proyas.
I, yeah, I feel, yeah, I'm like, it's to some degree, it's beyond his control. On the other hand, you know, he's made the decisions that lead to this point. Like at a certain point, he's has to take responsibility for his actions, and it's just like,
I mean, he's been manipulated by Kellos, though,
yeah, no, that's true.
which, he pretty much makes everyone do whatever he wants.
But it's not like that stopped him before Kellis, like he was a zealot before Kellis. So I mean, I think the tragedy of his character is he's the boy reaching out for Camion too late, and he falls. It's that story he told, or we saw in his POV last book, I think it was. And so he is a tragic character, no doubt, but because there is a nobility inside him, or at least there was before he ate Strong. But it's gone now. I mean, he's just, all that's left is the savage.
Yeah. His main issue is that his base assumption is that the moral good must come from something within this world, but pretty much everything in the world is fucked up. Like the gods are fucked up, Kalos is fucked up, everything is fucked up, right?
And yeah, and not that it must come from something in the world, but that like someone has to tell him.
Some higher power, yeah. But all the higher powers are fucked up.
He does right. He doesn't want to think for himself. He wants a holy figure to tell him what.
I mean, it's the same with Sorwheel, right? That's why he keeps changing his mind, because it's like, oh, he's fucked up, and they're also wrong, and they're also wrong. It's like, right? Because they're all bad. So obviously he keeps changing his mind, right? He's changed his mind like 4 times or something.
I feel like Sorwheel's actually having independent thoughts, especially here, right? Where like he finally is at the point where he's being influenced, but like he personally, he's grappling with it. But I do feel like he is having more, like I don't feel like he feels like what's going on here is evil because Yatwar tells him it's evil. I feel like he comes to that conclusion and it's like, all right, Yatwar, yeah, let's kill this guy,
Yeah, but again, there's this whole question of predestination.
Well, fair enough, yeah. All right, sorry, Varsha, you were going to say something.
Oh, I was saying Sorvey at this point is almost as responsible, maybe as much as Kellis is for the fate of the world. So it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense that he would waver and try to be very responsible about his decision. Like, it's not that he's blindly deciding, oh, Yatwar's made me. Like, he's not letting... In fact, I think he's a really interesting character there now as I think about it, because he didn't let his hatred towards Kellis make his decision for him. He didn't let the fact that he's Yatwar's chosen make his decision for him. It's his own understanding of what he thinks is right and what Kellis has done, that assuming that this is his final decision and he isn't going to waver yet again, that's what he let make up his mind finally.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that is a powerful moral argument to some degree, that like, I mean, we should be critical of ourselves and our own moral compass and kind of, but it's that doubt, right? I mean, I feel like a big theme in this series is doubt and skepticism and having the ability to question what you're told, and maybe what you're told is right, maybe it's wrong, but the point is that you need to be able to question it and not just accept it without doubt, right? And that was kind of the spark, because that's the spark of nobility in Proyas, right? Was that he doubted, but he never actually leaned into it like Sorwheel has, right? Or like a Camion, obviously. Which is not to say that either of them are... I mean, Sorwheel at this point hasn't really done anything terrible. Like, he actually weirdly is still relatively morally like okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting too that he is in some ways, he's kind of a chosen one figure. I mean, he's literally a chosen one figure, right? Like, that hadn't fully clicked for me until now, but he's like the classic fantasy chosen one. And the Dark Lord that he's destined to defeat is his own sort of chosen, is like, arguably also prophesied.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Also, the whole romance with Serwa is also kind of very, tropey in a sense, right? Our hero and finally gets the girl, I guess, after his tribulations, and it's kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't say romantic, but you know what I mean. But probably the closest to a romance we've gotten in this last 4 books, I guess.
I don't know. Camion and Mara is getting pretty close to it, unfortunately. It creeps closer and closer to it, and it makes me so
I guess,
uncomfortable. But
yeah. But I
I
mean,
did think about
even the well, like the
it.
Surwa and Sorwell one, it's a bit uncomfortable too, to be honest. Like the
Yeah,
whole fucking right next to his brother, and then he, make like that's also a bit fucked up.
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess he's a teenager, so
Yeah, it's understandable. He can't help it.
I mean, he's been like infatuated by Sorwell this whole time, and it's been pretty much, I don't know. It doesn't
What
seem like very complex love. It feels very teenager sort of.
that's what's unclear to me. That is continuously like confusing. Is he just feeling like lust for her? Like, is this just like she's hot and powerful, and so I want her? Or is this like in some way is he influenced? Like, is this somehow part of the plan? Yatwor's plan until Yatwor's like,
Maybe.
manipulating his brain to
I mean, it would help him get closer to Kellis, probably.
right. It's all thought.
Did
So,
I? Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
sorry.
Varsha.
Go ahead, Steve.
Oh no, I was just going to say, as far as Sorwheel and Surwa, did I misread it? But I think there was a glamour that Sorwheel had from Yater that kind of shielded him from Surwa, that she didn't really see him for what he is.
Yep.
So that maybe have a part of it too.
Yeah, because she
Yep.
thinks he loves her, and like she's amazed by that he loves them so much, even with all the things they've done. So she sort of like thinks, oh, he sort of sees his own, just like he's kind of like us, right? He sees his own primal instincts, and he fights against them. He's not like a slave to these base primal instincts that everyone else is. So that's why I think she starts liking him and thinking he's like a person, right? Because he doesn't behave like all the other normal people.
Sorry, go ahead.
Please, Varsha.
I was going to say, I think she's on to him though, because she says that uh, the love that she sees on his face, she's never seen the like of it before. It's impossible, and it is divine. At which point, Sorville thinks to himself, oh, she's just a child, which, like, fucking stupid. But she says divine, and you're not going to dissect that word some more. You are a chosen of a god. And she used the word divine to explain the expression she sees on your face. Your conclusion there is she's a child.
Well, I think it is vague enough that it could be interpreted the other way. Because, like, if you think of like there are views of love, right, where it is almost like this holy feeling, and so I mean, you're right, like that definitely, especially with how the Dunyan are.
Knowing what he knows about the Dunyan, like normal interaction, sure, don't read anything into that. But what you've been told about the Dunyan,
I think it's especially there for us readers also to think that. Just like, wait a second, does she know or not? Right, it's very, look at us too.
Going off of like all of like this idea of this like messed up, confused love story too, and like kind of the tropiness of it, and specifically the way it takes these tropes and mutates them and morphs them into something stranger and darker, is how this is like what he feels for her is that kind of Romeo and Juliet love at first sight, that seemingly by her reaction to him, she views it as like, this is unlike anything I've ever seen. It is this incredible power, right? It's like, love conquers all sort of power, and it like blows her mind. It seemingly wins her over, which, knowing Bakker, this is all gonna, the rug is gonna be ripped out from under us. But like the point that it is just this like sort of baseborn lust born out of like either God's manipulation or teenage hormones or both, and that he is the chosen one and he does get the girl, but the girl, she is literally kind of his enemy. And it's just like every part of this is like messed up in a dark way, and is like so. I think clearly like Bakker kind of criticizing some of, or at least like intentionally distorting these kind of classic fantasy tropes in such a fascinating way. I mean, because there are some ways that on paper like reads like such a classic story, but it is a really truly deeply disturbing
I think it's
at its core.
mostly like, puberty, sort of lust or whatever. For me, it cements it the fact, like that scene before they go to Sterbinth where he sees her and his brother, and he just jerks off, and it's like that to me is like, he just,
Unbelievable.
yeah, I think he just sees it as that. He doesn't recognize it because he's a teenager, right? He's like, he doesn't know these things, so he thinks,
Right.
it's just like, for me, it feels like, a bit of a like pathetic, teenage
Yes,
behavior. You
definitely.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it definitely plays on the normal trope of like, oh, the hero and he falls in love and it's true love and they're like, obviously they're all like teenagers and whatever, and it's
Right.
it's
And his love wins her over,
yeah,
right?
love
Where
wins
it's
her
like, oh,
over.
look, there's this like brooding, badass, like
Yeah,
sexy, cool guy who's also her brother. And, it turns out that she never really loved him, right? And she actually like was so
yeah,
wowed by his love the entire time, right? Like you said, you describe all this stuff and like you're like, oh, what a cliche.
yeah,
But like then you actually see what's on paper and like what's happening. And
yeah.
it's like, oh my God, Baker is like taking this and made it like this
Mm.
horrifying,
But
story.
it's so superficial in a sense, because like, oh, now he's the cool guy and the brother's the lame guy, and
Right.
right, that's literally what happens, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
It's
And
great.
and she left the brother behind. Like, yeah, no, I have this new person I
Yeah.
love more.
Well, he
You're so,
jumps, right? Oh,
Did
yeah,
he's the bad
yes,
boy, right?
but
yeah,
Like Moingus is the bad boy, but it's actually Sweet Sorewheel who wins her over in the end. Like it's hysterical. It's I love it. It's so messed up. It's awesome.
yeah.
so I guess Moengus jumped when he found out about the Sylvandi, and so I guess the next scene will have us have him meeting Nair.
He fucking better. I swear to God.
There aren't many pages left in the book. Things better happen quickly.
Baker, I want to see them interact. You brought him back from the dead.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is the only reason I'm excited to have him back from the dead. I
Mhm.
want to see them interact.
We'll see.
Hmm.
Maybe the
Maybe.
Slovendi kill him before he ever gets to. That would be.
It would be so messed up if actually it was Nair who kills him.
Oh, true.
That would be really dramatic and interesting and horrible. Or if the reverse happens in Moingus. I feel like if anything, that's what it would be. Like that feels very Greek tragedy. The son kills the father, and maybe he doesn't even know it's his father. Like that's literally Oedipus Rex. So maybe that
Yeah, we
happens.
already have the inverse. We had the father kill the son, right? We need the
Right,
opposite now.
right.
I mean, Kelos wants to kill his son too, to be honest.
And Kellis did kill his father.
Oh, Kelos did kill his father. You're right. Kelos killing all his family.
Yeah.
Did he though?
Well,
I mean, I guess he left him.
Wait,
to die.
what?
yes,
I guess, yeah.
he left
I
him.
guess technically Nair killed him.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Was anyone else like super shocked at Kellis's admission that he cares enough about Esmenet to come back for her? Did he
Yeah.
always intend to come back for
That's
her?
what he says.
Yeah, I don't trust. I keep going back and forth where like I do believe Kellis is more human than he lets on and even believes. But at the same time, like, is that really like would he really come back just to save Esmenet? I don't buy that. Like that still feels like too far for him. So he must have some sort of plan for her, but I don't know. I can't imagine what it would be. Like, why would he need Esmenet at this point?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and if he wanted to protect her, why not do something to protect her? before the ordeal left, if that was all
Right.
he wanted.
Right.
Send her off to a different continent or something, I don't know. He had 20 years to plan.
Well, I mean, I think we've talked before about how nothing Kellis does is a mistake, that it's all calculated and it's all the shortest path.
Exactly.
So maybe there's a reason he hasn't done that for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of, like, when you see Kellis and Esmond together? Like, every time I see them, like this one, it's just like literally Kellis just hugging Esmond, and it's like, it's so disgusting. Because it just feels like she literally has no agency in this relationship. It just feels like, how do I say? I don't know. Emotional abuse, I guess. That's how it feels.
It's gross.
Yes,
Yeah.
but just at this moment where we meet them, I feel like she's, well, at least I want to believe, based on what she's telling us, that she's beyond the point where she feels. I mean, I think she can still be manipulated by him, but I don't think she feels attached to him anymore. Like, she knows exactly what to expect. Like, I don't think she's at a place where she would be hurt by him anymore, if that makes sense. Given
I
that
don't
she was
think,
prepared to kill him.
yeah, I mean, I don't think she's in love with him or hasn't been for a long time, but I definitely think she could still be manipulated by him, and that's scary.
Yeah. But like any sort of, I don't know, situation in which, it would look like affectionate from the outside. I don't know, again, like him hugging her, or, oh, he's gone. I think he touched something in his. Like, press the off button. Oh, okay, he's back.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. It just makes my skin crawl every time I see it, like a sort of display of affection, let's put it like that, because it's just so one-sided, and it just feels so perverse. Even though it's not like, there's nothing really bad going on physically, in a sense. It just feels wrong. A little bit like like Akamian and Mimara. It just feels wrong. Even though like they're not doing anything bad right now, but it just feels
Yeah.
wrong.
That's fair. It ain't right.
It ain't right. I just hope Esmond finds a better situation.
What do you think, Varsha? Do you think she's gonna see Akamian again?
So, because I suddenly like fairy tales, apparently. What? Actually, no. How do you think she would react to knowing Mimara's pregnant with Akamian's
Oh
children?
God. Oh, see, I hadn't even fully thought that through. Because I'm an idiot. You're right. Now I'm confident she is gonna see them because she has to react horribly to it.
There was a line, I think it was at some point in The Great Ordeal, in which I think it was Mimara's POV, where she's like, she was carrying her mother's children, which just, I think I know
Horrible.
what you mean by that, but just, do you have to phrase it like that? Gave me the creepy crawlies. But
His
on
family.
the one hand, I wanted her to be able to meet Akamian again, because they're all going to die horribly, and I would like them to have like one last moment together. But on the other hand, she has to confront the situation with the two of them.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
They're
yeah.
gonna fight for who gets Akamian.
Yeah.
God, she's gonna be so excited. She's gonna it's gonna be the worst thing. It's like gonna be like the end of the last, like the trilogy, where it's like, oh, they reunite, and then fucking God, she's gonna find out Mimara's pregnant with his kid, and it's gonna be just, she's not gonna handle it well. She's just not gonna, and I get it. That would be a normal thing to not handle well.
Yeah. I mean, Mimara is literally it's like a surrogate Esmond, right? At least at the beginning for Akamian.
That's like explicitly why Akamian, slept with her,
Right.
because she looks like her mom,
Ch-
which is just disgusting.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
I think she put in effort to look like her mother to evoke memories, right?
Yeah.
Am I
think so.
remembering that correctly? Yeah, she
That
did
does
that.
sound, that
Because
sounds
she
like,
wanted
Yeah.
him to get
right.
out of the tower and teach her magic, I guess, which didn't happen, but
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, the reason I started with the fairy tale thing was like I wanted Akamian and Esmenet to meet, but
not anymore.
everything else about that situation is really messed up.
Yeah, I think I do actually want one or both of them to die
Oh
instead
no.
of me.
Oh no.
Be careful what I wish
And
for,
what do you guys
God.
think of Kilmomas now?
He's just pathetic. Like he's kind of got Gollum-y vibes, you know? Like he's weirdly getting all like my precious with his mom. I mean, he's been like that, but that clicked for me. That like he's like sort of just pitiful at this point. Like he's just kind of feels like a loser, you know? Like it's weird. I do pity him right now, even though I hate his guts.
Yeah. I don't know.
And
Bart's just shaking her head.
I don't know. I agree with you. I was shaking my head at Esmenet's decision to not do anything about him. I can see why she wouldn't want to kill him. Like I know it's hard for her to let go, but also
I mean, what are you gonna do?
like you bear all that hatred towards Kellis. I think Kelmomis has manipulated her far worse. And by you I meant Esmeralda. Like she bears all this hatred, like enough to want to assassinate him. But it's interesting that she's not extending that to her own children.
I mean, it's an
Yeah.
impossible situation to be in,
Yeah.
right? That your child, who looks, for all intents and purposes, like a little boy, has killed two of your other children, arguably, at least one, and is a monster and doesn't love you in the way you love him. Like, what mother could handle? You know, like if anything, it's a testament to her humanity. That, and obviously, I mean that in kind of a colloquial good way. I think Bakker sometimes would maybe view that as maybe a darker word, but anyway, but a testament to like the love inside her, the love that she is capable of, that she is seemingly incapable of killing her son despite knowing he's a monster. Because that's just, I mean, that is an unimaginable scenario.
And I mean, he is a kid. He is, even from what we know, he still has things of a child. Like
Yeah.
he's not like Kellis, right? He's still like some things he doesn't know, he doesn't understand fully. Like some specific emotional things, racial things, he thinks like a child, right?
And even Kellis was a kid once upon a time.
Yeah.
Like he was full Doom age, sure, but like we saw flashbacks with him, and like he wasn't always so cut off, you know, from his emotions.
Yeah, that's fair. And I guess she is, I think, an active participant in her not disillusionment, in her delusion. I think like she just needs any excuse to latch on to think that her children
Yeah.
are capable of affection.
Kellis has to have some plan for her, right? Like otherwise, I would think he would just kill Kalmomus anyway and say, "Fuck it, if she hates me, she hates me." You know, like, because what is she gonna do to him? Like, there's nothing she can do.
I mean, that's what he says, right? He says, "Oh, I'm not gonna kill him because I want for you, right? To want to
Right.
make you upset, I guess."
Yeah.
And to what end? Like, why does he need her?
He tells Kelmomus that he's keeping him alive because that's what his mother wants, and he will do what Espenet wants. So, is he just really being affectionate towards Espenet? Does he have a goal for both Espenet and Kelmomus, so he's just lying through his teeth? Or does whatever he need from Espenet need her to be sufficiently happy with him, so he'll do what she wants with regards to Kelmomus? There's just no knowing with this guy why he does what he does. Oh man.
He is an enigma.
Yeah.
Yep.
God, I hate his guts.
very much
crazy. I started to
so.
like actually like him a little bit at the start.
Oh,
I
really?
knew it was bullshit. I did fall for his bullshit a little bit, and then I was like Sorwheel, shaken out of it by the sheer atrocities committed by these strong-fueled humans. Just sickening.
Yeah.
In some ways, can't believe I'm almost defending Kellis, but in some ways he only led them there. They aren't doing anything that isn't in their base nature. Like, they are giving in to base nature, and he brought them to this. He only sort of led them there.
I mean, he specifically architected the campaign to make them eat shrunk at some point, and he specifically manipulated Proyas to be sure he would do what needs to be done. He literally tells them something must be eaten. It's, you know,
That's true, but they were like, Proyas sort of leaned into it. The men of the ordeal were already getting ready to start eating each other.
yeah. Well, they did eat some of the judges.
Proyas,
No,
you mean?
no, the men of the ordeal.
Yeah, they ate all the judges before Proyas like, oh, I need to be an active
Yeah.
participant
Well,
in this.
Proyas said, it's like, if I don't give them what they want, they're gonna eat me, right?
Sure.
But all
So-
of this is orchestrated by Kellis. Like, it's not like it's a surprise for him. Like, he made that happen. And, like, there's a thing you can argue. It's like, okay, you put people in the worst possible situation and they make the worst possible decision. Is that a commentary on the real human nature, or is that more a commentary on, like, well, you're fucked up for judging people at the worst possible point, right? Because if it was a normal situation, they probably would find a reasonable solution for there. Right? It's not like humans just want to be evil just to be evil, right?
yeah, that's fair. It's
They did walking
and I agree
dates.
with you. I do agree. It's just that I don't think the responsibility is entirely his.
Okay.
Is
I
my
agree
point.
with that.
Yeah.
I feel like they have to have some level of personalism. I mean, I guess that's just my values at a certain point that I blame Kellis more than I blame anyone else. No doubt. Like he is, you know, the 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 body here is rotting from the head down. But at the same time, like they still chose to go on this mission and to do,
I
to eat this
guess.
conch. And I guess they thought they had no other options, and so that is where it gets
Yeah.
murky. But and they were ordered, right? I mean, it's the banality of evil, right? It's like, oh, we were just following orders, it's the Nazi shit.
Yeah, but like
But
here it's a bit for me it feels different because it's like I always go back to the analogy that in the book always says the Dunyain are like, they're like a father with children. There's, like the
right,
children, if you have a child that's misbehaving, you don't blame the child in 99% of the cases. It's the parents which are failing in some way, right? So they're just
yeah,
not, they don't have, I guess, the intelligence to make a decision in which they would be responsible for, given how they've been manipulated. That's how it feels to me.
yeah, I agree and I don't agree. I mean, they are like father to children, but they're also not children, like they are like fully
I
grown
guess.
adults. And so at the same time, you could say they are childlike in that they are not built in a way to resist him and kind of the cultural. I mean, it's the darkness that comes before, right? That's what it is. It's all their culture and their history and everything coming together to form people who
Yeah.
are so subservient to him.
Like, did they ever have a
And kind
choice? That's the question, right? Did they ever have a choice?
right,
Who knows?
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. It is still pitiable, like I do in the same way that I pity Kelnomus, even though I hate his guts. I do still pity the ordeal man, but it's hard for me to not feel like they could have done something different. But that also, I don't know if that, I mean, maybe that's not fully fair. Certainly it's a question with no easy answers. Kellis is the worst, though. Fucking baby bass.
That we can all agree
You
on.
don't know his final plan. Maybe he's the best.
Yeah,
Hmm.
he's actually a really morally upright guy. He's really
Well,
cool to go hang
maybe his
with,
final
and
plan is once he's done with this, he's just gonna grab all the souls back from the gods and, put them in some sort of paradise, right? Maybe that's his plan.
does that then excuse their atrocities?
I don't know.
Saves the world. I mean, if he's so, it's pretty clear now. I think that the second apocalypse is potentially starting soon, right? Or has already started. If not for Kellis, would they stand a chance at all? Is he the only hope? He's the only chance at salvation,
I
or
almost
could they
feel
do
like he's
without
their
him?
doom. Like I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't know that he can get the job done, and that his whole moral argument is flawed
Hmm.
and wrong. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I guess we'll never know, right? It's like because he is the only option at this point. Like it's not like a Kamian is gonna walk in one man and blow up
Yeah.
the console. Like at this point, Callus is the only option. But was he always the only option? I mean, humans pulled their shit together before, and I guess we're supposed to be like, oh, it's it was a higher age. There were more non-men to help them and shit. But like, I don't know. Like I think maybe they could have pulled it off, but maybe not. I mean, we'll never know. That's the thing. We'll
Yeah.
never know.
I mean, they would have been nuked without Kellis, I guess. Oh, one thing I did realize from a comment from someone is saying that like when Kellis got the nuke out, because I guess apparently this guy was saying that the Kellis heard the Bashrag like digging for the nuke, and the console was preparing to fire it on the Ordeal Man. So then he got it
Oh,
instead, and he saw like because there was a description of the writing or like of something going on like the circuits and the lights, and he saw like, oh shit, that's a countdown, and he was like, oh, I need to get this out, and that's why he said like not everyone can
oh.
be saved, because he's like, oh shit, the countdown is almost over, I need to, some of you are
Oh.
gonna die,
So
but
he didn't know it was there.
that's what this
He
comment said,
didn't.
which I can also see that interpretation.
I mean that if that's the case, yeah, then that definitely makes that less reprehensible,
Yeah,
his
but who
actions there.
knows how much he knew, right? We don't know.
It's true.
So is Kellis the Annus Rember that is foretold? Is he the prophecy, or is it someone else?
His grandson.
Those Moangos all
What
along.
about Cayute? Cayutas?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Kill the
Sarva?
chosen one.
Many
Well,
candidates.
there was not
Yeah,
necessarily. Oh, well, I guess the other Serval. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
it could be any of them at this point. I mean, it would be really crazy if it was Kelmomus.
Oh,
Yeah.
yuck. Oh.
Yeah.
I
Honestly,
don't know.
oh man, given the focus on his character, I think that might just be it. Oh
But
no.
actually, it has to be Kellis,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Because that's who Kelmomus saw, the capital C Kelmomus saw in the
Yeah,
vision,
because he had
right?
the
Unless
competence
that
and he had the long beard and like the description
it's
is
got to
Callus.
Hmm.
in the hands of
Yeah.
a joke.
Unless it's very deceiving. Or maybe like Cayutes grabs the decapitants from thing and then he grows a beard and it's like, oh, you were tricked. Right?
Well, I mean, I guess it's possible that maybe we didn't see the full vision or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't be
Very Bakker-like.
impossible, but that would be kind of cheap if that's the case. It does seem like it's Callus at this
Yeah.
point, but I don't know. He has to get the job done first, I guess, to prove. I mean, do we even know that what Kelmomus, the vision he hears, is that Kellis is going to stop the second apocalypse? I thought it was just like he's going to come
Just sees him.
during the second apocalypse, right? Or something. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember what exactly he said.
And what does that prophecy mean? That he will be there? Will he stop the
Yeah.
apocalypse from happening? Will he just exist at the time?
Right, exactly.
will he cause the apocalypse? I think the jury's still out on that.
Yeah, I agree. I continually wonder if he's going to be responsible
It's
for it.
implied that he would save them, but it's not said. It's just that people assume, oh, because it's a
Right.
prophecy, then he must. But it's not
That would
said.
be such a classic like prophecy trope, you know, for it to actually be that like even Kelmomus misunderstood what he was seeing, and that it's like it's actually his ancestor who, or his descendant rather, who causes everything, or you know. I guess we'll see. We'll see about it all. What is a joke we have in mind for Kellis? I don't know.
Yeah. Many possibilities.
Many possibilities. Yeah. What else we got?
I guess, yeah,
So
go ahead. No,
sorry,
go
go
ahead, Varsha.
Oh, I was gonna say the audio eating itself chapters. I thought there were two things that were very interesting and slash well done. One was we saw the eating quite explicitly, but we didn't see the other depravities. We sort of saw Proes watching them, and we didn't even see what it was that he was watching. It was mostly him going slowly, like sort of descending more and more into madness as he watched them, which I thought was very interesting because he told us what they were doing without really telling us what they were doing. So, even though he focused so much on the eating, he didn't focus quite as much on the other stuff. And then the other thing was they ate all the judges first, and there was a line in there that said uh, they had removed judgment from the ordeal, which again, like in the view, in the light of what it was they were doing and the justifications and what you said, Carl, about the means justifying the ends, etc. They have removed the judgment. I thought that was a fantastic line there.
Yeah, I like that too. It's very nice. It's like is the tree that falls in the forest, does it make noise?
Yeah.
Right, it's the whole thing.
The answer is metaphysically, yes, it does. They are damned. They are so fucked.
But theoretically, moral judgment is not absolute, I guess. Well,
except we in this universe.
Yeah, but we know they don't. Well, you know what I mean.
It's the dramatic irony that they, yes, certainly in the real world, we don't know one way or another if there is metaphysical morality. There's no way for us to ever know because we don't have a judging iron. But for them, sucks to suck, buddies.
It does.
They're in trouble.
Yeah.
I do have to say, a Gongoria, the name of this place, sounds to me like an STD. Like I hate to say it, but Bakker, you did it again.
I mean, that might be, he might have wanted to do it.
Yeah, he's like, that's actually, that's a fair point. It may be very.
I mean, it's like an Incoroi area, I guess. It's kind of.
Given the themes of everything, and what goes on here, that you're right, and maybe it is supposed to.
I guess,
like an
yeah,
STD.
and like them eating their, the disease scalded. That's very like metaphorically like them and getting morally corrupted. They got a moral STD.
You know what? You're right. That's fair. It's disturbing, and I can't believe I didn't pause to consider maybe it's on purpose, but you may be right.
Yeah. Oh, and what you said, Varsha, about the like the way some things are not described. There's one thing that's described that I found like disgustingly sort of beautiful. It's like when he describes a guy like kissing one of the scalded, and then he like tears his like lips off to eat them. It was like, I don't know, like the image is
what a great visual.
Burned into my mind.
The image that's burned into my mind is one I don't even want to repeat because it's. But it's the scene with Proes. It's the scene where Proes starts eating. Let's put it that way.
Okay. When he eats like the cheek of the guy while the guy is looking at Golgotha. and not resisting, or I don't know. There's a lot of, I guess.
Oh, you're gonna make me say it. It's when he licks the oozing ulcers of the.
Yeah. That was also very.
Oh, that was horrible.
That was
One of the worst things
horrible.
I've ever read. Oh God, that was a like literally a pure horror scene. Just terrible. Oh God.
Yeah.
Well written. I mean, kudos
Yeah.
to Baker. That's just fucked.
Yeah. I mean, they've been like, the whole ordeal was like thinking, even before, like, oh, we should go back to the shrunk, and they're decaying, so they're gonna be even more sweet, they're gonna be even more delicious. It's like they're just loving it, you know? All the decay and
Horrible.
disgust.
Oh, yikes. So what happened at the end? Did I read correctly that or interpret correctly that they just like suddenly stopped eating and indulging in all their depravities when they saw Golgotha, and they're like, yeah, okay, let's get up in arms and become disciplined again. Let's go fight.
Definitely seems like they were like ready to fight. Yeah. They were like pissing themselves but ready to fight.
Yeah. Maybe their hunger got sated for now.
Hmm.
I mean, how much worse can they get
Makes sense.
at this point?
Yeah. No joke. That was an epic ending to the chapter. I mean, what a place for us to stop. Like that was
Yeah.
the perfect place for us to stop, honestly. I got to the end of that. I was like, oh my God, I cannot. But it's like ending a great episode of the television on like a television show on like a great cliffhanger. Like I was itching for more. I mean, oh my God. They're on the doorstep.
Yeah.
There was one more Nail of Heaven, Inkoroi
Mm.
connection. There was I forget which chapter it was, but when they were describing the Golgotha tusks with the Nail of Heaven, as if they were calling to each other or as if they were twins or
Mm.
something. There was a line there that explicitly connected the two of them. But
Yeah.
I don't know what it would mean anymore.
I mean, it's somewhat connected. Like the Nail of Heaven is in some way connected to how they got there, I guess. Or it was caused by them getting there or something, right? And it's and then there's the irony of like, the Nail of Heaven, the way, the compass, I guess, the geographical compass, but also, the source of you know what I'm trying to say. Well,
Yeah.
I can't say it, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to say it.
Well, it's an interesting juxtaposition, right? And that it is kind of the like North Star, like in the Bible, like following, the star to Jesus. And, they're following the star sort of because they go north, right? Following the star to fight, monsters, and they become monsters themselves on the way.
Yeah. And the star, it's a geographical fixed point of reference, so it sort of becomes a metaphor for a moral fixed point of reference, but it's obviously all fake, just like everything is fake in this universe. All the moral points of reference are not what they are. They're not really moral points of reference. Right?
Yeah. A section I really didn't expect that totally took me aback, and I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts, was Sorwheel effectively engaging in pederasty with Zoronga.
True.
That I totally did not see coming. And he like seemed to be influenced by the ghost that I thought was no longer possessing him. And so I guess maybe it just has like an after effect, or because he keeps thinking Mumiorn, which was the name of the lover, the male lover of whatever the ghost.
Well, something got left in him, right? We know that.
And so, yeah, it seemed like that. And then I had never picked up on that Zoronga was attracted to Shortwheel. That to me came out of left field. Like I'm not even necessarily saying it's bad, especially considering, it was, that was weird. Well, am I incorrect to remember that Zoronga is like a grown ass dude too? Like it is pederasty, right?
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
Pederasty being the practice of
Yeah, yeah,
like a
yeah,
grown adult, a young boy.
yeah, but not a child.
Sure, right, not a
Yeah,
child, but like
but yeah, it's
this, like the
yeah,
age it would happen, right? Like in like ancient
yeah.
Rome and Greece and Egypt
Well,
and
it's very
some,
clearly put in the frame of reference of Greek sort of
right,
homosexuality, right? Because the way he describes
right,
it, it's like, men before fighting lie with each other. And like that's
right.
exactly what happened with the what's it called, the Theban Legion, right? Which was one of
Yes,
the elite, I guess, units of fighters in ancient Greek. And I think it was three,
right,
no, like 400 homosexual couples or something like that. They fought together because the idea was like you're trying to protect the lover which is fighting next to you, right?
somewhat. One of the famous philosophers, I forget who, what, Socrates maybe, or someone talked about like that being like, of course, that just makes sense, right? Like you want all of the male soldiers to fall in love with one another because then they will fight harder, for each other.
Yeah.
One of them, yeah, someone, I forget who famous,
Um,
yeah, talked about that. And I think it was specifically in reference to, yeah, the Legion of
but
Thieves.
it's kind of like hard for us to interpret it just because of our own, how our society views sexuality and couples and stuff like that. But
Right.
for me, it's, what was in ancient Greek, it was very different. They didn't view this in the same ways. Like it was not like, at least to me, it doesn't feel like love the same way as it's not just love. It was like the whole society, and the roles are not exactly the same.
Right.
And it's not like
Some, I
these
mean,
soldiers didn't have like women, because they also had women, right?
sometimes it was
Yeah,
love in a very like it depended on the related. Like sometimes it was just lust, and sometimes, like you would see with any, you know, heterosexual kind of pairing
yeah,
you might see today, just with the added dimension that these were young
yeah,
boys.
yeah. But I'm just saying it's not just homosexuality like it is now. It's very
No,
different
no,
than
it's
what it is now,
yes,
right?
definitely true, definitely true. And it's yeah, I'm surprised. I guess the ghost must have influenced because you seem pretty serious about Serwa, and then suddenly she's not even around. I don't know where she went.
Yeah.
I guess back with her witches.
But to me, it felt
And
just like
then
him being influenced by anyone. Like he's always being influenced by other people, especially, his friends or people he admires or whatever. Like he's very easily influenced and swept along by other
yeah,
people. So that's what it felt to me. And like Zoronga, it's not like
that's
he loves at least he doesn't feel like he loves Sorwin in a romantic manner, but more like he loves it in a friendship and respect manner in his society that can be, you know, expressed through physical, you know,
I don't know. He the way he talks about like I'm gonna protect you,
yeah,
like I guess he talks like I'm gonna protect that which is weak, which is in its own sort of weird
mm,
dynamic, but that also to me doesn't read as like that different from like how a lot of men, particularly in sort of like
mm,
traditional
true,
gender dynamics, like view their relationship with women, um, like bigger, stronger, I'm going to protect you
mm,
sort of deal. Uh, so I feel like it's weird because this is all happening with the strong shit too going on, right? So it's motivated by like obvious like beyond normal lust and hungers, right? It's messy. I don't know how I would classify it. But I do feel like there is something deeper than just the like I want somewhere to I'm not gonna finish that thought. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's that part definitely took me by surprise
yeah.
because I did not get those
They're
vibes
just all a
before.
mess. Every single character is a mess.
It's true. Yeah. I was surprised too that a lot of authors, authors, straight male authors, like don't get graphic whenever they like have like gay male intercourse. Usually it's fade to black, but Bakker fully went for it. Like that was surprising to me.
I mean, he does love to describe his what do you call it, little brother or something? I don't remember what the term. There's a lot of.
Oh my God. He didn't even call it his little brother. Baker, what are you doing?
He's got lots of
Come on.
terms for it, but he's like, I don't know. I don't know. There's probably a mention of a penis every like 3 pages or 2 pages, I feel.
It's so true. So many fallacies.
Yeah.
He loves the word phallus. Oh my God, he didn't call it his little brother. What the fuck? I guess it was the non-man thinking, so he wouldn't think of it as his little brother. But man, I'm
Well,
missing
because
out
now
on
he's
little
grown a
brother.
man, right? Can't.
Oh, true. So he
I
doesn't
don't
even
know.
have he doesn't have a little brother anymore. Bummer. It's a big brother, is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, the way he describes Zorangas, I'm not going to go into detail, but yeah,
Oh God. Yeah, that's right.
but yeah, there's definitely. I mean, I'm sure some, psychologist with a Freudian leaning would very much enjoy these books, I feel.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Freud would have a field day with these books.
But
Anything else that happened in these sections?
I was trying
What
to think what
else we
happened with
got going?
Mimar and Akamian. What did happen with Mimar and Akamian in this chapter?
I feel like they mostly
Yeah, I
talked.
think so.
It wasn't even like boring talking, but I guess it just wasn't that memorable because I don't remember what they talked about.
That was a very short chapter, I
Mm.
think.
It
And
was.
they were just walking. I think they got to the point where they saw the tusks, did they? Or
Oh
like the
yeah, I think
Golgotha rod
so.
thing.
Yeah, they did.
I guess
But
yeah.
that was it.
I
Sorry, go ahead.
liked when they started snorting the query now. They said.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's cocaine.
God. In case it wasn't clear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think a lot happened in that chapter, as in a lot of walking and getting to
Yeah.
the ordeal.
How long has it been since Mimara got pregnant?
I have no idea.
Trying to think.
I couldn't tell. I think we actually could track it because we have the months generally or
Yeah.
the seasons, but I don't know. She's big. She's
No,
big
yeah.
now. She's definitely at least like late into the second trimester, probably in her third trimester at this point.
And why did Akamian keep thinking my child was he not there when the survivor said she's carrying twins? Why wasn't he using the plural?
Maybe he didn't hear that. Did he hear that? I guess you're right.
Yeah, was he
Yeah.
not there for that? I feel like that
I
happened in
thought
the
he
tent when they were
was.
all there.
Yeah, I thought he was. So either that's a mistake or
Might be a mistake.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I am not looking forward to something bad happening with those babies.
No, nothing bad.
It does seem like a situation where one of them will come out alive, considering there are two of them. Like that's a very intentional choice, right? Like you give and take, right? But I just don't know.
Maybe
don't
they will
know.
come out as
Maybe not.
non-men because of all the query.
That would be crazy.
Do you think we'll have another Calmomus Samarmus situation where you just can't separate them and they're really creepy and they're staring into each other's eyes? But he's done that already. I don't think he'll do it again. But do you think he'll do something similarly creepy?
I'm wondering if they come out like mutated, fucked up babies. Like I'm thinking of like in A Song of Ice and Fire, Targaryens sometimes have like dragon babies. I'm wondering if they come out as these like mutant, like half non. I mean, I guess non-men can breed with humans. We found out, but
I mean, that did happen with
it
Telos'
may
children, literally, right?
right. So yeah, maybe yeah, exactly. So maybe they'll come out like weird and mutated and extra pale and like, or one of them will and one of them will be fun. Maybe they'll be like freaking yin yang. I don't know. Not that this series has ever gotten into yin yang. That was
There's no balance.
philosophy, but no, there's no balance. There's no hope of achieving balance. It is yang yang.
Yeah.
Is that right? Which is
I think Yang is.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else interesting from any of the other chapters? I think we covered the Proyas sections. So are we arriving at the fields and making up his mind for the fourth time or fifth time? uh, and Kellis with Esmenet. What else? Yeah, and Moingus, I guess, left behind
Yeah.
to meet the Sylvendi.
I'm really excited about that. Despite the fact that it happened in a kind of sad situation, and that has to go somewhere, you know.
What did you guys think of the Moingus POV? Where he learned, where we learned that he's sort of been this neglected child. I really felt bad for both him and Esmenet when he was thinking back to how she never expressed the same amount of affection to him as she did to her own children. Like, and he was capable of returning all her affection, and she didn't.
Yeah.
Big Jon Snow energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely, it's sad. It is sad. I felt bad for him.
Yeah. That's it. Then let's do quotes.
Quotes it is.
I guess I go first.
Yes, always.
Please do Steve swap.
I like that you still confirm whether you should go first.
Yeah. On the last discussion, I'll just like jump in and be like, okay, quotes. I think my favorite quote in these chapters is on page 24. You were my only darkness, life. He wrapped her within greater arms, pulled her into his warm blanket of his embrace, the only place I can hide. Whether or not he means it is a whole other thing. But
I don't like it. I don't like Kellis. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, I have this one. The Nail of Heaven and Golgotha connection. The Nail of Heaven gleamed in the clarion void above them, wetting their ruined tents and pavilions with luminance, a-gloaming across the endless crypt that was the field appalling. I love that line in and of itself. But then the horns flashed mercurial on the darkling horizon, the hook upon which all lines converged, shimmered as an earthbound twin.
Yeah. Pretty nice.
It's pretty
good. I don't know. I don't know if it's good prose, but it's how do I say? It feels like luxurious prose, right? It's indulgent. It's like it,
yeah.
you know. It's overwrought.
It's a evocative.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. I think it is. I mean, there are sometimes sections that I have struggled parsing and I feel like shouldn't be difficult to understand. But like Bakker is a master of like really evocative, beautiful, moody descriptions. I really do think he is an excellent prosaic writer.
Yep. And this one was interesting. Why do we trade gods as we trade spices? Which, I mean, I guess rereading it now, I think it makes different sense than what I had it highlighted for. But I was thinking of the East India Company and other trading companies that brought missionaries along, and yeah, I guess the exchange of gods was part of the exchange of spices as well. But here, I think it's just a comparison of like how we're trading gods with spices, like just like we trade spices, not that we trade gods alongside of spices. But I read it that way first, and I was like, that's an interesting callback to our world.
Yeah,
that's an interesting parallel.
Yeah, the spices bit has to be intentional. I thought, but anyway. Any more quotes? More?
unless we want to have one of the disgusting quotes from the Field Appalling, but I don't know if we want to relive that.
No. Yeah, I think all the occurrences of the horn. The descriptions are really wonderful.
Mm.
The sun slipped behind a crimson veil, and slivers of the horns blazed like uncanny torches, like beacons, either beckoning or warning away, unnerving for the premonition of raw immensity they conveyed, to stand so tall as to bathe in a younger day, a brighter
Mm.
sun.
Yeah. And there's a nice other quote, but I don't remember exactly what it is, but like the sunset on or the sunrise on the horns, and like they're glimmering, and like
Yeah.
everything is kind of like a furnace. Like that sort of like,
Mm,
the red of the sky is like reflected on the ground everywhere. It's they look nice,
nice.
but
They look
well, they
nice.
look
They
like
look nice.
And
nice in the sort of way that gold can sometimes look nice and evil at the same time, you know?
mm,
Right.
too much of it starts to feel evil, no? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Sorvey who had the thought about who could have built this, how unreal this
Yeah,
feels
I
against
think so.
the backdrop? Yeah. Okay. If there are no more quotes, then let's do outros. Steve?
Yeah, I'm Steve. You can find me at pagechewing.com or on the Speculative Speculations podcast or the Page Chewing podcast. Yeah, and we're reading chapters 6 through
7 through 12.
7 through 12. So anyone reading along, 7 through 12, stop at 13, and we'll talk next week. I'll kick it off to Dan.
Yeah. I'm Dan. You can find me on Patreon at TNFire17. Oh, that's about it.
I'm Carl. You can find me on Page Chewing and social media at Carl D. Albert. And I guess I will plug my book this
Nice.
time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's you can buy it. Probably Amazon's the easiest place, but theoretically wherever books are sold.
Name the book, Carl. Plug
Truth
it.
of Crowns. I said it. I said it. Maybe I mumbled it. Truth of Crowns.
Yeah, the links are in the description and go buy it.
And you can find me on the YouTube channel Reading by the Rainy Mountain and the podcast Speculative Speculations. And yeah, come talk to us on the forum about these books and stop at chapter 13 like Steve said for next week. We'll see you in a week. Thank you so much. Bye.